Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat malam teman-teman semua. Selamat bergabung kembali di WartaJazz Talks edisi ke-10 dengan bintang tamu yang sangat spesial. Kawan lama sekaligus kawan dekat saya dari kota Singapura. Segera kita sapa saja. Selamat malam Bung Jeremy Monteiro. How are you?
Selamat malam, Agus. Apa
Kabar
kabar?
baik?
Kabar baik, terima kasih.
Alhamdulillah ya. So for those who are waiting for our stream tonight, we apologize a little bit. There is some technical glitch that happens
Yeah.
during this kind of things because we, just like Jeremy, that we had to do working from our own home, and there is no one that can help my technical problems here. So I have to solve a little bit and just restart the computer, and I think we should be just fine. But just in case you cannot hear or you see some trouble, you can put your comments in the comments box in our Facebook, in YouTube, in Instagram, and also in Twitter, because we live on those four platforms. Okay, first, before we gonna start the show with the playing some videos, Jeremy Monteiro's video from a previous concert. I would like to get hands-on. Jeremy, perhaps you could tell me the latest development, the situation in Singapore with the COVID-19.
Well, our cases are going down, both in the migrant worker community as well as also the cases in the community is down to single digits, and so we are fortunate that we have no fatalities in more than 2 weeks. Still only 26 fatalities, and hopefully we do not increase that number.
Okay.
But I think everything is everyone is still very cautious. But some people are back to work. I'm still working at home. Many people still working at home, and but the restaurants have opened, not yet the bars, so still no jazz club. But it's slowly getting better. How about you?
Okay. Well, I mean, in Indonesia, the reported cases, of course, vary, depends on the location. Jakarta, I think, it's just reported some new cases still happening, but of course, because Jakarta is like the central or the capital of the Indonesia, so it is possible that people that traveling from other cities or countries who probably already infected and just being diagnosed in Jakarta or infected in Jakarta. Right. But what worries me a little bit is actually the East Java, the Jawa Timur.
I see.
Because it's reported is quite high, and also in southern of Kalimantan, south of Borneo, it's also reported high. And of course, in general, I would say they're still very far from what we could say a stable or flattened the curve, just because still compared with the number of people who lives in this country, against the tests that being done by the government, the number is of course uncomparable. I mean, and even in a big or in some modern countries like Australia, who has been eased the restriction a little bit. Just reported a couple of days ago, my colleague Adam Simon was reported that Sydney and Melbourne is also now locking down again. So I think everybody was in the same page, or I would rather put this in the analogy that everyone has the same storm in the open seas, but the thing is each country has a different situation.
Right.
We are like having in a separate boat. Some people may be in a big cruise, while probably we are only in the life-saving boats kind of things. But not trying to exaggerating, but that's just how how I projected this the situation
Right.
of this COVID-19. But what is the interesting thing is we come up with some of new initiative like what we just doing tonight is we talk a little bit and the
Yeah.
WartaJazz Talk now in a 10 edition. So each week that sometimes we had two guests, sometimes we have three, sometimes we didn't have any guests just because that time is something that a little bit tricky, especially when the my guest is coming from States or United States or coming from the Europe, for example. Then how is the say I didn't say a jazz scene, but perhaps just the general entertainment or the creative industry in Singapore during
Well,
this.
yeah,
time.
I mean, most of the musicians are in a bad shape, and all of us are affected. For example, my gigs are all gone, and
How many gigs that you
I mean, I would say that first, just from basis of income, more than 55% of the or more. Lucky, I have some recording projects that are still ongoing, so I have some work I can do at home. But many musicians are in a difficult situation. I'm not in a good situation, but I know many musicians who are much worse situation with no work, especially those who don't do recording or just play live. Those are the ones who
really
have no
affected.
gigs to play. They're very badly affected. So it's I think everyone is and not just musicians, right? People of all walks of life, who especially the gig economy, right?
Yes.
People who work in the gig economy are suffering a lot. So
okay, we're gonna talk more on these issues and also some other interesting topic, which is like your upcoming concerts, which gonna be live stream. We're gonna talk about and how your connection with the Indonesia. And also with the young generation, with the jazz community around the world, etc., etc. First, we're gonna play these videos coming from the. Let me just share something with the public here. Perhaps you could tell me a little bit about this one. This coming from 1988. Is it already on the screen? Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
So this
Maybe
is
you can explain it.
this is my famous live in Montreux concert in 1988 on the main stage of the Montreux Jazz Festival, and there were 3,000 over people in the audience, and it was broadcast live across Europe. This concert, and the kind of quirky, crazy host of and founder of the Montreux Jazz Festival is every time he introduces a band, he wears something funny. So in this case, he was wearing a sports shorts and t-shirt to introduce the band. I was with the great Grammy-winning duo, originally from the Ramsey Lewis Trio. They recorded the In Crowd together, and it's LD Young, the bass player who passed away in 2007, and Red Holt, the great drummer, who's still very active in his more than mid-80s in Chicago, and the three of us had a band together for 20 years until LD passed away in 2007. And also a great guitar player, O'Donnell Levy, who played with Jack McDuff and a lot of other famous organists, and saxophone player John Stubblefield, who was on one Miles Davis album and also had a great career in the World Saxophone Quartet as well as a solo career. John Stubblefield is on the show as well.
Okay. Let's enjoy the Monteiro, Young and Hope from the Montreux 1988 shows.
Et en fait, donc, nous avons accueilli le bassiste et le batteur du groupe qui va suivre. C'est un grand plaisir que nous accueillons nouveau ce soir. It's almost 20 years that the bass player and the drummer were in Montreux in the old casino, and we are very proud tonight to welcome them back. On bass, LD Young. LD Young on bass. Red Holt on drums. And for the first time in Montreux, Jeremy Monteiro on piano.
From Chicago, Illinois, LD Young. Also from Chicago, Red Holt. From Baltimore, Maryland, O'Donnell Levy. From New York City, John Stubblefield.
From Singapore, Jeremy Monteiro. Jeremy Monteiro.
Okay, that one is really nice.
Yeah. It was
How old are you actually at that time?
I was 28 years old,
Oh,
and that standing ovation.
perhaps that's the youngest ever Southeast Asian jazz musician that being playing in Montreux Jazz Festival.
I don't know. I think I'm the first one to lead a band of American musicians onto the main stage of Montreux.
I see.
Yeah. So, but it was that standing ovation went on for 4 or 5 minutes, and we were not allowed to go on to play another one because
So you don't have the encore.
yeah, they didn't allow us to go on. But actually, what I did, I already played the encore song because I knew they won't allow.
Good. I mean, how did you interact with the? Because you also know Cloud Knobs, right? I mean, are you knowing him first, then you being invited, or actually you being
Claude Knobs
invited
had
first?
come to the saxophone bar in Singapore, and he heard one of my albums, Jeremy Back to Basics. And I had a guest musician, LD Young, Red Holt, and Claude Knobs listened. He asked the club owner, said, "This bass player and drummer sound very familiar. I think they were with Ramsey Lewis, that same style, So I said, yeah, this is Jeremy Monteiro's album, and he has this great musicians playing with him. So I said, well, tell Jeremy if he can go and grab LD Young, Red Holt, I'll put him on the main stage of Montreux, and the rest is history."
So that's also like a kind of, I mean, how to put that? A strategy, like a young Jeremy know the strategy to win everybody's heart in the very beginning.
I mean, that was totally synchronicity or luck or whatever you want to call it, because I did not know that Claude Knobs was even in Singapore. And I have to thank the owner, Fabrice Dibasi, who's passed away now, but because of him, actually, I got a chance to go and play at the Montreux Jazz Festival. And after that, of course, the video was shown all over Europe. The concert was shown in full in Australia and also on NPR in the States. And also there was a DVD. Remember Laserdisc? The old days, no DVD. There were Laserdisc, right?
Yeah.
I was one of the items was, in fact, the second last item of the concert was featured on a Laserdisc together with Spyro Gyra and Josh Benson and Yellow Jackets. So. So that's how I don't think I became an international star, but I was no longer an international stranger,
I see. It's a good analogy. But before we're talking much more about your career in music, but how was young Jeremy during the childhood? I mean, how did you get infected by the jazz bug?
No, actually, my parents, my father used to have jam sessions playing pop jazz at home when I was 3 years old, 4 years old. And I used to have a toy piano, So one time during the break in the jam session at home, I played on the toy, I went on the organ. My father had bought a Fafisa organ. I don't know whether you remember. And I started to play with 2 hands at the age of 4.5. And then my father's friends said to him, Monty, his nickname is Monty, Some people call me Monty, but very few. But my father's nickname was Monty. He said, hey, why do you better buy a piano for your son? So I started learning classical piano very young, 6 years old. And but what I got, and my father used to have all Joe Pass and Oscar Peterson, all those Pablo records, at home. So I would listen all the time. But what made me really decide to be a musician and really think of being more of a jazz musician is when I listened to Quincy Jones' album and I heard Toots Tillemans playing the song Brown Ballad, on the Quincy Jones album. And I was standing in the middle of my living room and I was crying. And my mother asked me, why are you standing in the middle of the living room and crying? I said, Mom, I never heard anything more beautiful than this. So it was amazing to then become a musician, and then I love Toots Tillerman so much, and I get a chance to play with him in 2003, and also 10 years later at another time.
I see. All right. Of course, yeah, we probably gonna also play the memory with the late this great musician, Toots Tillerman.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you could tell me also a little bit how actually you put your name in the region, like in Southeast Asia, especially like Indonesia. How did you get to know with all the Indonesian musicians? And what I do remember back to say 1990s, around those period, when we hear Singaporean jazz, your name is somehow, it's like a top of mind. It's pop up immediately.
Well, I think
how that's being developed.
Well, I stand on the shoulders of giants in Singapore jazz scene. I mean, of course, my mentor, who still actually will be appearing on my live stream birthday show on Sunday, is Luis Soliano.
Yes.
And he talked about me to the Indonesian musicians like Bill Saraghe and Bobby Chen and other great musicians like Irang Maulana. And actually, Irang Maulana invited me to play in 1985 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know when the first WartaJazz Festival. I can't remember. Maybe not 85, but I played at the first WartaJazz Festival. And of course, I love people, so I love to meet people, say hello. Very outgoing. So I got to meet many of the great musicians in Indonesia. Also, I'm 1/4 Indonesian, yeah. Nenek saya dari Medan, yeah.
So you are like a half Indonesian as well.
Yeah. 25% Indonesian, ethnic anyway. So I that was great. And then of course, Sangaji Music, Sandy Talk asked me to work on many of the albums, and one of the albums sold more than 30,000 copies, Girl from Ipanema. So I became a little bit of a household name in Jakarta and other parts, and also Peter Gonta also started inviting me to play at Java Jazz. So I've been really very blessed to have more and more connection with the Indonesian audience over the years, and I think the Indonesian audiences are one of the most sophisticated jazz audience. Also, maybe more for like fusion and like El Giro and Josh Benson and Latin jazz in the earlier years, but now also many great straight ahead musicians have started to appear in Indonesia. I mean, of course, there were great straight ahead musicians back in those days already, with Bobby Chen and Bill Saraghe and the late Benny Likumawa, who just passed away, very sad. And this is a very, very wonderful Indonesian jazz family that I'm happy to feel a part of.
And is there any plan that in the near future that you are doing such a collaboration with, say, the millennials of the Indonesian jazz?
I have already. I've had this young guitar player who's the student of Paula
Patislano. Yeah.
The student. I'm sorry, the name escapes me now, but I played.
Nathan?
Again?
Nathan?
No, not Nathan. But he, and I've played with some of the younger musicians also. I think there's some fantastic, wonderful young musicians, and not only they're great musicians, but very, 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 very nice people. And I'm always very honored to hang out with the musicians of all ages in Indonesia. I also did a collaboration. I don't know whether it's quite historic. Doing a 2-piano album with the great Bobby Chen, who was one of my heroes, together with David Ng from Malaysia, was the two big heroes of mine. David Ng and Bobby Chen both had this Oscar Peterson kind of vibe about their playing, great virtuosity, and so I was very, very touched by. I know some people, he's such a master and respected, but for me, he was so kind and respectful to me. Of course, I was looking at him like an elder and a master, but he put me at ease from the beginning, and he was very, very kind in our project, and that allowed me to be less nervous and be able to make good music with him.
Perhaps we're gonna continue after we see this the Jeremy Monteiro New York Trio from 2003 videos. Let me just share again in our screen. This is something. So let's see. Okay. Can you see that? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you could tell a little bit about this video.
So I got a chance to, when I did the arts festival in 2003 in Singapore Arts Festival, I mean, every 3 years or 4 years, the Singapore Arts Festival would ask me to, come up with a nice program. And I always dream of working with Toots Tillemans. As you know, I admire him since I was a young boy. And when I asked him, would you do something with me? And I told him that Jay Anderson is playing bass and Adam Nussbaum is playing drums, and he likes playing with them. So of course, even he didn't know me at first, he was very happy to know that Jay and Adam were in the band. And so then it was the best part actually was traveling all the way to Belgium, to his little hometown in La Hulpe in Belgium, to rehearse with him and work out the repertoire in his lovely home, lovely piano. So then, I had a chance to play, then we played this. And then he said, I heard that you sing. I said, yes, I do. He said, well, sing one song on the concert. And so I was very shy about my singing. I'm still very shy, but I'm going to release my first vocal album this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna looking forward to that. And for those who are just joining this conversation, the WartaJazz Talks edition number 10 with the Jeremy Monteiro, the Singapore's King of Swing. We're gonna talk about that later. Please have fun with the Toots Tillemans with the Jeremy Monteiro, the New York Trio from 2003.
We have a vocalist. Yes, we have a vocalist. I don't stand a ghost with a chance, no. We used to have, 50 years ago, I played that melody, The Ghost of a Chance. And we used to say, I don't stand a chance with a ghost like you. That's before you became a jazz musician. We had jokes like that, folks. You want to hear another one? Another one? No. Go. I forgot the other one. Okay, Jeremy. All yours.
I need your love so badly. I love you oh so madly. But I don't stand a ghost of a chance with you. I thought at last I found you, but other loves surround you, and I don't stand a ghost of a chance with you. If you surrender just for a tender kiss or two, you might discover that I'm the lover meant for you, and I'd be true. But what's the good of scheming? I know I must be dreaming, for I don't stand a ghost of a chance with you. Ghost of a chance with you. If you surrender to stillements just for a tender kiss or two, you might discover that I'm the lover meant for you, and I'll be true. But what's the good, what's the good of scheming? I know I must be dreaming, for I don't stand a ghost of a chance with you. I don't stand a ghost of a chance with you. With you.
So where was that the show that you had in
Oh, that was
the
at
Singapore Festival?
Victoria Concert Hall. Before the big renovation, I think the government spent nearly 150 million Singapore dollars to completely redo the. And this was just before that. This was still the old Victoria Concert Hall. We retained the same facade, but the inside is all new now. So it was in the old Victoria Concert Hall. Very nice venue.
I see. Well, I would like to say hello for everyone who just joining us, both in, not just both, but they were in, so in Instagram, also in Facebook Live, and also in YouTube. I didn't check the Twitter yet, but I just want to say hello to Alfred Ticolo. He say, hi, WartaJazz team, hi, Jeremy. And then there is also Rahmat Audi from Ponorogo. Salam dari Ponorogo. So greetings as well from us here. From Jakarta also from Singapore. And I think there's one question. Well, we not put a specific section for question and answer, but if you feel, if you think that you had one question or even more, you can put in a shout box, both in Facebook and Twitter, also in Instagram if you like. Because if you put it in Twitter, it probably is already scrolling up. I mean, just like the normal Twitter. And tonight we are in edition 10 of WartaJazz Talks, together with the Singapore King of Swing, which is wants me to come up with this question. How did you get the title, actually?
Well, you know, this title is very funny because I'm very embarrassed by it, but you know, it's great for my press. Started off actually not the Singapore press, but the Malaysian press refer to me as King of Swing, and then the Japanese press started to call me King of Swing, and then Thai press, and then after that the Singapore press much later started to also refer to me as Singapore's King of Swing, and the Indonesian press, the Jakarta Post. So I guess this mantle rather than the title. This mantle has stuck with me. You know, of course, I play all kinds of jazz, funk, fusion, and Latin, and blues, and straight ahead. I'm not that much of a bebopper actually. I think I'm more a jazz blues.
Why?
You know, because I think I'm my heart. You know, one journalist asked me once to describe what is my style. You know, I said my style is a blend of the blues and Ravel, the classical composer. And if you listen to my especially when I play ballads, my harmonies is all very impressionistic harmonies like Ravel, and then the blues on the top. So that's my kind of blend. If people ask me how do I develop a signature sound, because I love Ravel so much and I love the blues really. So I mean, of course, I do play bebop a little bit, but I think there are much better bebop players than me in Singapore and all over the region who can really play like Bud Powell, you know. I admire them actually. It's not really my style.
All right. Now speaking about the works that you put. I mean, as you said that you're not just playing, performing live, and during this pandemic, you are still very active in recording session. I do know from your status, for example, if everyone is following your page in the Facebook page, you did you're producing the Laura Fiji latest album, or
yes.
What?
So about 2 years ago, I produced Laura Fiji's latest album called Laura Goes East,
Okay.
and it was released at first only in China as a vinyl only album. But now it's going to be released as a global album on Spotify. And so the first single, What a Wonderful World, is actually already released on all the streaming platforms. And so, yeah, it was really an honor to work with her. I worked with her about maybe 15 years before with the Singapore Symphony Orchestra. And it was nice. And, you know, she's a lovely person. And although she really knows what she wants and very strict about what she wants, but she's also a very nice, kind person. And so working with her in the studio, I learned a lot about recording vocals, you know, because I'm going to do my vocal album. So someone who's a platinum and gold selling to produce the album. And I was so shocked when she said, can you also produce my vocals? I was like, wow, that is a huge compliment for a great singer like her to ask me to produce her vocal session as well, not just the music, you know.
Yeah.
And but I, you know, as much as I felt that I contributed to her and to be her mirror to because she cannot hear herself in the control room, right? But I learned so much about her style of recording. And I'm going to use some of the techniques that she has in terms of how to record, you know, the best way for vocal album. So I shall be using the Laura Fiji method for my vocal recording.
It's a very clever way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now continuing the well, I saw there are some questions which is you already answered that, but perhaps some other who are not checking out the shout box in the Facebook. There's one question from Nur Hidayat. How did you compare the Indonesian jazz audience and Singaporeans jazz audience. So perhaps you could.
Yeah, well, I did already answer him on Facebook, but of course it's great to answer here as well. But I said, basically we have a different audience. Population levels. Right, Indonesia is one of the biggest populations in the world. So of course we have very much. There are much more Indonesian jazz fans than in Singapore. But I think that jazz fans are all the same. We all love this music very much. And I think that even though the world is full of separation, the love for this music is what helps us to unite as people. And I really think that this beautiful music that we love so much is what brings us together and makes us become friends. And I mean, our basis of our friendship also, Agus, is jazz, right?
Sure.
And
Yes.
how we start off being loving this music, and after that we get to know each other personally, and we become good friends over the years. So I think that jazz unites people and brings people together.
Okay. To stressing out more about the typical audience in Singapore, how exactly are people consuming music, for example, in Singapore? I mean, is people are still buying CDs, or they are pretty much more online? How about the younger generation towards the jazz in
I think
Singapore?
the whole world has moved towards streaming, which is on the one level is fantastic, because suddenly, when I look at my reports of people who are streaming my music, sometimes it's from 60 different countries, a few thousand people from different countries, which in the old days there's no way, right? I even had one album out, my Bossa Nova album, that became a hit, number one in I believe it was Zanzibar or something like that. That became the number one stream jazz album on iTunes. I mean, not stream, downloads. And this could never happen in the old days, because there's no way you can get your album to Africa or whatever, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, though, the amount of money we earn has become only a fraction of what we used to earn before. So then what we used to do is that we make our money by going to tour, right? Now we more known all over the world, so because of streaming. But now then we get people book us to play all over the world. Like before, not so much. But then what has happened is we don't get the gigs anymore because of COVID-19, right? So right now we don't earn money from recordings, and we don't earn money from live shows. So to all my fellow brothers and sisters who are musicians, it's a hard time, I know, and I feel for you. I'm there. I'm also there with you, going through this together with everyone from different walks of life and different jobs as well, not just artists and musicians.
Okay, but then since you mentioned about the COVID-19, what did you learn in the last 4 months?
Well, one thing is that although I use my Logic recording software, I only maybe use 5-10%, but now I think in this 3-4 months I can use 50% of the functions and get much better. And I've learned how to do a simple video editing. I've learned to use all the technologies for live stream. So actually I have live stream shows that I usually do myself. Of course, the big shows like the one this coming Sunday that I'm doing for my 60th birthday, I'm using a professional live stream producer, but most of the time my own Sunday shows, I edit the video myself, I mix the music myself, I do the live streaming myself, but it's a lot of work, I tell you. I mean, I don't really, I want to play the piano and practice and make music and compose, but so what COVID-19 has forced me to do is to learn how to do those things. And even if we start to not do those things anymore, I have a greater appreciation now for my friends who are in the industry, who are doing
in the ecosystem. That's basically supporting each other.
How much we need them,
Yeah. Did you see, or you projected? I mean, as you yourself with very long career in the music industry, and also doing you're also doing a little bit pop stuff as well, right? I mean, for other artists or.
Yeah, I mean, my focus is as a jazz musician, and my face to the public is also as a jazz musician. But I'm a classically trained pianist, and in 1991 I won an award from the International Radio Festival of New York, silver medal at the International Radio Festival of New York for a classical folk piece of music, orchestral piece. And then I played on more than 300 pop albums with artists in Singapore and Malaysia, Hong Kong, Taiwan, all the greats, the Malay singers as well. And I haven't had a chance to work much with Indonesian artists, maybe a little bit on live show with Brody Marantika in the old days. But in the Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Taiwan, I have worked quite a lot. Like Teresa Teng or Tan Lee Chin, everyone knows who she is.
Okay. Actually, my continuing question is that since you projected that everybody is doing an online streaming from their home, will you see that it will gonna change the audience behavior in terms of consuming entertainment in the near future? I mean, say, of course, we pray that this gonna be end very soon, but I doubt that that's gonna happen like at least the rest of this year. We're just gonna stay in our home country individually. But how did you see yourself for 2021 or 2022? What is your exact plan for that?
Well, I mean, it's a good thing. I'm very blessed to have had a group of friends to support me. Together with them, we started the Jazz Association in Singapore, which I sometimes joke with my American friends so they understand what we are. And I say that we are like a baby version of Jazz in Lincoln Center, and I consider myself the baby Winton Marsalis in Singapore.
But, I was just about to say that.
But I mean, Winton is such a sweet man. He really was very kind in the way he has been helping me with the show. And but the thing is that I think that that keeps me busy now because we have a mission to continue to lift the level of excellence in Singapore, to grow the audience of jazz in Singapore, and now using online platforms to do that. And then, of course, our youth development, which continues. We have a scholarship program we have 4 scholars. 1 is graduated and 3 others are still in college, Singapore as well as in Boston and in New York. And so with the scholarship program, and then we work in inclusivity also. We work with children with autism and Down syndrome and other special needs, and we make music with them, and it's a very, very beautiful thing to do that. And also we do cultural diplomacy, which we can't do now, which is travel around the world with our music. We've traveled with our Jazz Association orchestras to the US, to China, to England, to the UK. And so we hope that, we can do that again. And so that's the thing that really, that's our focus of our work. And I'm very busy with that. I have a wonderful team working with me, who give me great support. And we are still doing our work and adapting our way. As you talk about the future, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but I will say that, that life has changed, for the world. I mean, I don't know whether you read, but the U.S. Budget Office has said that the U.S. won't recover from this for 10 years. This is the U.S. Congressional Budget Office with both Republicans and Democrats, and the whole world. Therefore, I think will. I don't think we have actually gone to the bottom of what this is economically. We haven't discovered yet how it's going to affect the whole world. And of course, not just music, but everything will be affected. So for example, my big concert I was supposed to do on June 6th at the Esplanade Concert Hall has been postponed to December 11th at Esplanade. And I don't think we will be allowed to have 1,600 people there, maybe 300 or 400 if we're lucky, 500. And then we will do a hybrid.
It's going to be very, very modest, yeah?
Yeah, and then we're gonna live stream also the show global, and this time maybe sell tickets for the live stream, because we do a lot of free streaming. But I think it's important that we don't have to charge a lot, but I think we should start to charge a little bit so that we don't devalue our music too much, especially if you have a very special program, to show the world,
Okay, back to the association that you started, what is the current status of the association? Are you I think one of the chats when we had a talk a couple days ago or week, you were saying about you raising some fund to for this particular how exactly the way it works?
So okay, so we have our 5 pillars, as I mentioned: the excellence and audience building, youth development, inclusivity, and cultural diplomacy. Our 4 main pillars that we have now. Now we've added another pillar to our mission, which is we are starting a assistance fund for musicians who are in distress, who are suffering and no work, and maybe not so much for the musician who is a rich banker husband or wife, or because they can still manage, right? And so we're really looking for people who are in true distress through COVID-19, as well as we will keep the fund going for in future if a musician is having a bad health problem and needs to so that this is a permanent fund, and so my directors and donors are very, very supportive for us to start this. And so that it will not take over our mission as a arts organization first, but we are one of the first such organizations, arts organization, that is also has a pillar of compassion, a pillar of assistance, and so we it's very modest. We're not by any means trying to take over what the government can do or any other larger organizations can do, but we just want to, here and there where we can, and we're helpful and we're useful, and we will with the help of the generous donors and of the association and the supportive directors of the board and a wonderful hardworking team, we will try and do our best to assist musicians.
How many musicians are? How many the current members are?
Okay, so the members are really just the original members, and of course our orchestra members.
Okay.
And we have maybe about 250 associate members who are mostly our donors that we so really in the end of the day we are a charity registered in Singapore, and also what is known as an Institute of Public Character, or IPC, which allows us to offer tax breaks to deductions of 250% for people who donate. So if someone gives $1,000, they can go and claim to deduct $2,500 from their taxable income for Singapore tax residents. So of course this encourages giving in Singapore, and that's so our beneficiaries really, as a charity, people ask, who are your beneficiaries? Yeah, but beneficiaries are 2. Firstly the musicians, the jazz musicians of Singapore, who benefit from having such an organization where they have an orchestra, there's training opportunities as well. And also the beneficiaries are our audience at large, the Singapore jazz audience. And so this is our mission, to serve these 2 groups of people in Singapore.
Okay. Now we're talking about the, of course, the world knows, putting a Singapore name in the world map because of the Jeremy Monteiro. But one of the, I would say one of the elements in the jazz is not just jazz musicians, also the jazz fans. And in other hand, is also the media and the festivals. Yeah. We do know there's a Singapore Jazz Festival that's on and off, and there are several people also attempting to do kind of similar, and it has been over the years. There were a Mosaic Music Festival, which I was participating as a media to cover the festival. But then it's again on and off. I would rather not ask what is the conclusion, because we never know what's gonna the end of the tunnel, and since it's like a long journey, as long as we live. But it's more like what is the real situation in Singapore that makes this jazz festival is not like properly maintained in the yearly programming, or even like the big one like music is also had to stop somehow. Did you know? Perhaps,
well, the latest manifestation of the jazz festival, of course, is Sing Jazz Festival. But in Singapore in the 80s, 1983, 84, 85, the Singapore government is the organizer of the Singapore Jazz Festival.
Yeah.
And 85, I was 25 years old. I was sitting on the organizing committee. And of course, later on, we did a few other manifestations. I got a chance to produce the very big 2001 Jazz Festival that had Lee Rittenauer and Take Six and lots of Indonesian groups. Irang Malana's group was there, and groups from all over Asia and Singaporean groups. And since then, after that, 9/11 happened, and so after one big hurrah, it's gone, you know. But I really admire the people who've been doing this latest incarnation of the Jazz Festival. You know, my good friend Ian Ingram,
Yeah.
so David Smith and others who put together Sing Jazz Festival, and it, you know, just persevering for many years to increase the viewership and the attendance and the quality of the acts. And I believe that they will come back, and they will come back strong, because I think the difference between a corporate running a festival and people like Ian and David is that the love for the music. They really love the music, and when you really love the music, it's very different game, you know, from just doing it as a business. So I believe that it will come back strong.
So yeah, we're looking forward to see that more from the Singapore. And yeah, I want to say hello with everyone who just joining with us in both Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, and also Twitter or Periscope at WartaJazz. Please put your comments in the comments box or shout box next to the each social media account. I'm gonna say hi to Neil Giuliarzo, who's just joining in Instagram. Also Andi Sanap. There is also Ruli Mangunsong, who joining through the. Oh, he was mentioning what I love your dancing during the work from home. That was.
Who's that? Is that Neil? Who said that?
It is Ruli Mangunsong.
Oh.
Ruli is the one who helping.
Oh, Ruli, yeah. Thank you.
Irang Maulana with the
Of course, I know Ruli very well. My very good friend. Hi, Ruli. Yeah. And Neil is one of the great.
So there is MJ Mohammed joining from Singapore as well.
Yeah.
And who else?
Hey, MJ. MJ is a great follower and a wonderful supporter of mine. And always, every show, live show or live streaming show, my dear friend MJ Mohammed will always be there. So
it's always show up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There is also Vishnu. I'm not quite sure where Vishnu is coming from, and also Juniper Chu.
Yeah, Juniper is a former student, piano student of mine, and still very loyal follower. I really appreciate her also always showing up for my live streams and many of my live concerts. And I still give her tips online when she has questions about music. So I in a way, I still consider her still a current student of mine. Right, Juniper?
Okay, we are still with the Jeremy Monteiro, the Singapore King of Swing. Then we're gonna take a look at this coming video, which we're gonna show you. Is okay. Let me again share the screen with everyone, so you know what I'm talking about. So this one is perhaps you can tell me a little bit, Jeremy.
Yeah, this is actually another. This was celebrating my 35th year in the music business, and so you know, it was kind of amazing to invite Roberta Gambarini, who's the one. James Moody actually said that to him, she is one of the main successors of Ella Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
And she's originally from Italy, but now living long time in New York already.
Yes.
And Jay Anderson and I have known each other for 20 over years, and he's also on my live stream show, playing with me, and a drummer from Thailand, and Hong Chanut Techetananan with Winton Marsalis, and also on the saxophone is an amazing saxophone player, Bob Shepard, who actually is very impressive, because when he solos for 25 choruses, every chorus is completely new and inventive. So you never get bored, even if he plays very long, because he's so inventive. And the drummer, of course, is the legendary Jimmy Cobb, who played on the highest selling album of a jazz album of all time, Count of Blue, with Miles Davis. And he was playing drums on this concert. So, and I'm very sad that, you know, we lost him earlier this year.
So yeah, let's enjoy the Jeremy Monteiro coming from the Singapore Art Festival 2007 with Roberta Gambarini, Bob Shepard, Jay Anderson, and Jimmy Cobb.
What a bullet of the owl. Should have written up a while. We lit it, she lit it, lit it, lit it, lit it, lit it, lit it. We didn't do but we did a little bit, lit it up. Put up, should lit it, bop, dip, dip, we be, lit it, lit it up, wow. Put up, shut up, pop up, put it up, pop up, lit it, Pop up, did it, pop up, did up, pop up, did up, pop up, did up, pop up, did up, pop up, pop it up, ow, ow. Shut up, but you do, baby, pop, 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 did it, yeah. Whip, dip, 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 pop, did up, pop, pop, did it, show me, do it, do it, do it, pop, pop, little, pop. We are.
Roberta Gambarini, Jay Anderson, Bob Shepherd, Jimmy Cobb. Thank you so much. You've been a wonderful audience. We love you. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't hear you. Is your microphone on?
Yeah, that was a wonderful performance with you and Roberta Gambarini. I do remember her coming to Java Jazz a couple of years back. I think several times in the Java Jazz Festival.
Yeah.
Now we are have one question, I think, from Instagram. I think from, let me check. This from Siska Pranajaya. And hi, Jeremy, do you observe change character of audience during your time?
Change character of audience, what? Sorry?
During your time. So perhaps throughout the years, your career.
Definitely the audience has become more sophisticated. On the one hand, I think there's a dichotomy on how this has happened. On the one hand, you find that the numbers, the quantity of audience may have gone smaller because they don't play jazz on radio anymore. Yes. Back in the old days, even the pop music station, they will play George Benson, El Giro, or whatever it is, right? Maybe Herbie Hancock. But now, they don't play any jazz. Michael Bublé is maybe, or Dinah Kroll, but one song or two songs. And so the number of audience has shrunk, but the quality and depth of the understanding of those who love this music is much better now, I think. People do love the music. They research about the songs and the artists and the life story of the artists and what inspired them. And I think it's very important as a jazz performer, as well as a jazz audience member, not to just listen to the notes, right? And the emotion, yes, but to also really understand the history a little bit of where this music came from. Like, you know, and also, you know, I think what has really put into focus now with this whole issue of Black Lives Matter is that we understand that we love this music, which actually essentially is Black American music, blues and jazz, right? And it's very important if you play the music, if you only learn the notes, you will never be able, just like if you want to be an actor at a Chinese opera or wayang kulit or any of these things, if you don't understand the history and the emotion that went behind these art forms, then your understanding as a fan as well as a performer is very shallow. And I think it's very important to continue to understand the history, read about the history, Max Roach and what struggles he went through, and you know, the challenges the musicians faced, where this music came from, Jelly Roll Morton, and all these great musicians who Bud Powell, who actually was beat senseless by the police, and so he became angao, you know, towards the last few years of his life. He couldn't really speak well, but still played amazing. I think then when you start to feel it on a soul level, you start to feel this beautiful music on the heart level, and not just the ears and the mind, then you really will, you know, find that it's beautiful the way that the jazz feeds our soul. Sorry, I can't hear you.
There is also another question coming from Norcolis. He was mentioned, it's kind of bit long, but I'm trying to summarize that. So basically, there are many Indonesian jazz musicians who try to incorporate some cultures, elements of Indonesia into their music. So how about how was the Singaporean culture contributed to the development of jazz in Singapore? I guess it's from Nur Hidayat.
Yeah, well, we have to remember Singapore. We call it a melting pot, right? Tapi Singapura macam rojak, yeah, because gado-gado, yeah. So the thing is that the different elements that come into making our society.
Yeah.
And of course, and you know, I just was having a conversation with Todd Stowe, who's the recently retired president of the Jazz Education Network, and who is still the vice president of education at Jazz at Lincoln Center. And you know, it's important to do the tradition and understand everything from Louis Armstrong and Duke Ellington, but at the same time, there's nothing. In fact, it's wonderful when you see people who incorporate their local. There's so much wonderful incorporation of Indonesian music and culture in jazz to create something new, a fusion that is reflective of the local culture, as well as melding it with or forming a tapestry with the jazz, traditional jazz. So it's wonderful to have pure people who are purists and musicians who want to concentrate on the bebop and reflect the great traditions. But I think it's really great that people try to come up with new manifestations of jazz by mixing local music. So as far as Singapore is concerned, you know, the musicians in Singapore, they really want to concentrate on the stuff that's from New York. So everyone wants to sound like, you know, Dexter Gordon or and it's very authentic. You know, it's surprisingly very authentic. Or they want to sound like Wes Montgomery and so on. And I think that's great. It's very, very important to have this as well. You know, but I also would like to see in Malaysia. I think they've done it more with Louis Pragasam and Asia Beat. They have actually done the kind of ahead of the game as far as that's concerned. I mean, I have my group Asiana, which was formed to open for Simon and Garfunkel in 1993. We've gone to play in Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas and so on, with musicians, Indian percussion, Chinese flute, Western instruments. And in fact, Asiana will be performing on my birthday concert as well.
Okay.
And so that is my attempt to create. So people used to ask, what's the difference between Asia Beat and Asiana, which is my group, right? So Asia Beat is really more rhythm-based, very, very exciting rhythm.
Because it's backed up by the Louis Pragasam, who basically the drummer.
My group is more melodic and harmonic based, with the rhythms still there. So that really is essentially, be interesting to combine the two bands together, I think, one day.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Before
I just sorry to interrupt you, but I just did a show that's being televised. Broadcast tomorrow called Child Aid. It's a big charity in Singapore to raise funds for children for the school Straits Times school pocket money fund, and also the Business Times Budding Artist Fund for children who don't have enough money to eat in school. You know, people always think Singapore is rich, but we do have our fair share of people who are needy, and we try our best. Both the government and the non-NGOs do their best to assist. And also the school pocket money, the Budding Artist Fund is for talented young musicians and artists who don't have funds to pay for their music or art lessons. And so I'm doing two items. One is I'm doing a duet with the great young Indonesian piano master Joey Alexander. So that's tomorrow on Wednesday evening, 8 p.m. And also.
And how do we gonna see that? Is it
okay? If you just look for the Straits Times, right? The Straits Times and YouTube. The Straits Times YouTube, you'll be able to watch the show from 8 o'clock. It's very special. And if you have 3D goggles, you can actually watch a 3D experience of the show.
So it's 8 o'clock Singapore time.
Singapore time.
It's 7 o'clock Jakarta time.
Okay. Yeah. And so also I'm playing with the young drummer on another item from Bali, Krishna Kanhaya, right?
Okay.
Plays with, I think, Balawan, is it?
Yeah, the drummer of Balawan.
So he's playing an item with me and a saxophone player from China, CC Lee, young pianist from Singapore, Lee NG, and also a drummer who's studying in Berkeley now, a Jazz Association scholar. John Coe is on the bass, and I'm playing the organ, actually. I'm playing Hammond organ on this one. So I hope that you can come and catch all the friends in Indonesia can come.
Yeah, well, that's actually the one that I would like to ask, but you already explained. So now we continue the conversation to the of course the most anticipated the upcoming concert to celebrate your 60 years in anniversary. What comes to your mind as an idea to put all of this effort during this very hard time situation?
Well, when I turned 50 years old, I worked with the Community Chess of Singapore, who gathered a very strong team, and we produced a very good concert. But of course, the ComChess committee worked very hard, and they managed to raise more than $1 million for the Community Chess of Singapore, so this was done when I turned 50. So when I turned 60, I wanted to raise a similar amount for the Jazz Association. So we were going to do a big gala concert on July 11th, but now we cannot do it because of COVID. And I was also going to do a public concert for the general public on June 6th. And this was going to feature Louis Nash and Jay Anderson, because I've recorded a live album with them, and we were going to release the album on the concert, and also a second half of the concert with a full symphony orchestra playing my compositions, as well as some standards, me singing some tunes. But now the July 11 gala for the Jazz Association is moved to March, and then my June 6 concert is moved to December 11. I told you, with smaller audience.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do nothing for my birthday period, right? So so with the help of the National Arts Council, who were very kind, supported me to do this concert. And I approached all these great musicians, and all of them are so kind and generous, and just taking a small love offering, and or some of them saying, no, please donate the money back to Jazz Association, or no, I don't want the money. And it's really, I can't believe the kindness that has been shown to me. So that's why I can put together this $1 million concert for not $1 million. So I hope that everyone will watch the show. I mean, we got, as you know, Winter Marsalis, Laura Fiji, who I recently did something, actually. Zulham and Dira asked me to do something for Indonesian musicians, and we just did something with Laura Fiji as well, for the Indonesian musicians.
Let me just share the publication of this this upcoming, so everyone knows what we're talking about a little bit. So there are a lot of musicians. If we just
so Nathan Hartono is on the left. He's a Singaporean Chinese musician whose parents are he's of Indonesian descent, but he's Singaporean. And then there's Luis Soliano is my mentor, who's still going strong. Carmen Bradford, the number 3 on the left, she's the Count Basie band singer. Since Count Basie was alive, she was in the band, so it's quite wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. So furthermore about this, the lineups can be found in the WartaJazz Instagram, also in Jeremy Monteiro Instagram. We already mentioned that,
Sure.
But we will provide more info about that very soon. So so how long the concert will gonna be?
Well, I think it's going to be, well, most of the songs are pre-recorded, but there are 3 or 4 tunes we will play live at Maduro Jazz Club in Singapore.
Okay.
No audience, we're not allowed to have audience. So then we will have Alame Fernandez and Nathan Hartono, Luis Soliano and I, and also young saxophone player Sean Hong. We're playing our items live, and then also playing I think an hour and a half is what we're thinking, but I'll be surprised if it's sharp an hour and a half, and probably closer to almost 2 hours. But it's great music and great musicians, and jazz fans are a little bit different from other people, right? They want things to go very fast, chop, chop, chop. And for example, you could never do an interview like this. Now going to be almost 2 hours if it's not jazz, right? Because people really want to know about the music and what goes on in the back.
And it is also quite interesting that because we learned from our statistic that during one up to 2 hour maximum duration of our talk show, we find out that about 90% of people is playing about 59 minutes. So that, really more than half of the long period of the videos being played, which is compared to other genres, it probably less, because of course the beauty of this streaming thing is you can do live from anywhere you like, and then everywhere people who has an access to the internet can also access this and enjoy it by themselves. But at the same time, because there are so many variety of shows being offered, so it's gonna be a bit tricky, but maybe not for jazz, because I do remember that somebody has said this, perhaps once you get bite by the jazz bug, you're gonna live with that. You have to deal with that until you die. So now back again to the reality. That's there will be the upcoming concert, which is I'll be looking forward to that very soon, and also tomorrow with the Joy Alexander. I would like to get your specific comments on Joy Alexander. I mean, is this something that you already anticipated, like coming from Indonesia, seeing a lot of young talents, or it is just like an obvious?
Well, I think, I always say that Jacob Collier is the jazz Mozart of our day, and Joey Alexander is the jazz Chopin of our days.
Okay.
And I think that really kind of describes how important these two young musicians are, Joey, rightly so, does not like to be called a prodigy, because he's not.
Yes.
Because the prodigy is someone who's great for his age.
Yes.
But Joey is just great, full stop. And I think that I call him, he's very shy when I talk to him, and I call him, you're the young master, and you're my young master, and and he gets shy, but he's used to it, because Wynton Marsalis calls him my hero, right?
Yeah.
And when I spoke to Lee Ritenour, Lee Ritenour played on the International Jazz Day show 2 years ago with at the White House, a few years ago at the White House when
Yes.
Obama was still president.
During the Obama period.
Yeah, and Lee Ritenour told me that when he talked to Joey Alexander, he doesn't feel like he's talking to a kid. He feels like he's talking to a sage, So and many people, and I also experienced the same experience when I hung out with him when I played at the Chiang Rai Jazz Festival.
Yeah.
Also found that he's really such a old soul, but of course he's still young, and so he still acts sometimes like any young person should. I think that Indonesia should be very proud that they have produced a magnificent talent who's going to be around, God willing, for many more years as a great musician across the world, across the globe, and also Krishna is like amazing, 15 years old, and it's just like, he's like Omar Hakim, Dave Weckl, and Steve Gadd all in one,
Yeah.
And a very nice young man as well, very humble, and he's got a bit of swag, but he's still very humble. Yeah.
Right. Well, there will be coming up several other musicians that, as long as that we give a chance for them to, and we nurture the the ecosystem, the environment to support these beautiful art forms to become alive. There are other questions coming from the Facebook from Vishnu. Do you think jazz right now is still considered as exclusive music, which can only be enjoyed by the rich and educated ones? Perhaps you could,
I can answer the same thing about nasi padang. Nasi padang is for the common people, in Padang, right?
Yes.
In Sumatra, it's not
and,
a rich.
And there is no sign. It's called nasi padang in Padang. It's just called nasi.
And then, but if you go to Jakarta, right, you pay top dollar to go to Saribondo.
Yes.
And so can you answer, is nasi padang only for the rich people? No, because jazz also has a very poor beginning as well. From the bars and the bordellos, and it's from the poor people. It comes from the people who are struggling and the poor people, and the music comes from the pain and the struggling of the American people in the early part of the century. And yes, it has been adopted by people who are elite, and so sometimes you may have a false impression that it's elite music, but it's not. Jazz used to be the pop music of our day, in the 1940s and 50s. Now it's rap, but 40s and 50s, jazz is the pop music of our day. The Duke Ellington and the Glenn Miller and all this kind of, early Frank Sinatra, early Ella Fitzgerald. These people were like pop stars nowadays. So it's really, now it's a niche following, but a large niche, not small niche, but certainly, even if it's enjoyed by people who are wealthy or elite, I think that it belongs to everybody. And I know many people who are not rich, many people. When you watch the when I went to the Jakarta Jazz Festival, and I'm performing with Jeremy, right, 1985, yes. And there's 11,000 people in front of me. They're not rich, they're just normal folks, you know. And then when Lee Ritenour came on, it's nearly 30,000 people in Ancol, you know.
Yeah.
So no, I think jazz is for everyone. That's my answer.
All right. And okay, there is a bass player who also watching us. Would it be possible if Jeremy talk about jazz history and give some example of jazz development? I'm not quite sure if I understand the question. Maybe.
Kami ada 5 hari kah? Berapa lama? No, but I think jazz history, I mean, it's easy enough to just to look it up and Google it, but just briefly, it really comes from the Black American people in the turn of the 19th century into the 20th century. And one thing important to remember is no matter what fusion we have, right, we have to respect that this music will not exist if not for the Black American people creating soul and creating jazz. And this is Black American music. We call it jazz, but let's not forget it's Black American. The same way that even you can have a wayang kulit or Chinese opera in Norway or in Germany because they love the culture, but they can never take away that wayang kulit comes from the Malay people in Indonesia and also in Malaysia, right? You cannot take away this from anybody. And so, the music has developed. Of course, great white jazz musicians came into the scene: Stan Getz, Bill Evans, and so on and so forth, who contributed greatly to the music. And Michael Brecker, who one of the best ever saxophone players, and now it's universal. But we are all universally still playing this lovely music that we love and called jazz, which is Black American music, Black American culture. So, but please go and research it. It's easy enough to find. YouTube nowadays, you can do anything. You can build an aeroplane, or if you want to, you can from YouTube, you know.
Yes. And Rudy is asking question about, so the concert on July 19 will be online and offline?
I don't exactly know what you mean, Ruli. Yeah, it's going to be live on.
Let me just show again the flyers on the screen so everyone can see that. Yeah. Let me see if maybe I'm sharing.
But while you're doing that, yes, it's live online, and then after that, it will be left there for you to watch. And I will also slowly be releasing each item as an individual item on my Facebook and other platforms.
Yeah. That's the one already shown in the on the screen. Is let me check. Yeah, it's on Sunday, 19 July. 2020, 7 p.m. Jakarta time, so 8 p.m. Singapore time.
Yeah.
And it will be streamed on the jazzassociation.sg/Facebook Live and jazzassociation.sg/YouTube Live. That's the information that being available. And if you guys need furthermore information, you can check out on Jeremy Monteiro Instagram and Facebook. As well as the WartaJazz Facebook, because we're gonna post that in our account as well. Of course, one thing that is not yet mentioned is as we've been distributed all the information is already saying that in the flyers that you are the what they say called. Let me just read carefully. You are the EFG Bank Global Art Ambassador. What is that means with that title?
Well, 14 years ago, EFG Bank started to sponsor me as an artist, and they actually, every year they will sponsor me 2 big projects at least, which is my Jazzy Christmas concert, as well as 1 album every year and a half or 2 years. And so I've been supported by, and then my international career, for example, when I'm invited to play the big jazz festival, I'm not Chick Corea, right, or Herbie Hancock, but EFG has always been very kind to support me with at least travel for myself and my band and accommodation, and of course the festival will pay us a normal fee, but I don't think I would have been able to have the exposure and travel around the world if not for EFG Bank or EFG International support. Then about 7 years ago, they asked me if I would be the global arts ambassador and really just be a spokesman for them whenever they need me concerning jazz, especially in Asia, and helping them to connect the media, the genre of jazz with their ideals, because EFG Bank is also innovation, improvisation, and so on and so forth. As some people may know, that EFG Bank has been given a Best Private Bank Award in Asia before, and Best Pure Play Award, which is, because a lot of private banks try to do a lot of this left, right, center, different, but EFG is a very pure private bank in the sense of the word. So I've been very proud to be associated with them. I mean, they have been very kind to recognize that I have played a small role in making the EFG logo, EFG brand name more well known in Singapore and other parts of Asia by flying the flag whenever I do my performances. So that's really my work. I just consider myself very lucky to have their support in everything I do.
All right, Jeremy, thank you very much for the answers. I think now we are, we're almost 2 hours right now.
Again?
We have to conclude this talk show. Of course, 2 hours may not enough because there are a lot of issues that we would like to talk, but I think what is most important is to check out tomorrow concert and also the Sunday concert, which will be streamed online. And the information will be available through the WartaJazz.com website for those who are need further information. Jadi buat teman-teman yang mungkin baru saja join sekarang, sayang sekali kita memang sudah harus mengakhiri program pada malam hari ini. Tapi yang paling penting adalah besok malam adalah penampilan Jeremy dan Joey Alexander untuk konser Child Aid. Dan pada hari Minggu juga ada konser merayakan 60 tahun usia dari Raja Swing dari Singapura, Jeremy Monteiro. Linknya tersedia di websitenya WartaJazz atau di Instagram WartaJazz dan sosial media WartaJazz lainnya, Facebook, YouTube, dan Twitter. So nanti bisa silakan nanti cek di sana. Again, terima kasih untuk Jeremy. One last question. I don't know that's how long that's your career gonna be last, but is there anything that you are still dogged that I have to do it and I want to accomplish this before I'm dying?
So it's a very, very good question, because of course I played with most of the heroes that I dream of playing with in my career already, and I guess it's not just one thing. Number one is that having started the Jazz Association of Singapore, I'm very, it's important to me to make sure that in the next couple of years, 3 years, that if anything happens to me, the Jazz Association of Singapore can continue long after I'm gone. And of course, I hope I'm not gone in 2 years or 3 years, but it has to be that the association can survive and be there long after I'm gone, so that once you reach that stage, then I can just kind of dance in and out and do things and not have to worry so much, because it's really standing on its own feet. And I think that this is possible because we have very great young musicians coming up in the scene. And musically, I'm excited because my vocal album is coming out. I'm very excited about doing large ensemble music again, because I told you I won the award in New York 1991. Actually, I received the silver medal. I did not receive the gold medal, but there was no winner for gold medal, so I was the de facto winner. But I want to do more orchestral music. So I think look out for my orchestral heart to come out in the next 2-3 years. I'll be working with the Brettle Heights Symphony Orchestra. I'll be working with the Resound Collective, which is Singapore's top chamber orchestra. That'll be next year. And if you ask me personally who else I want to work with that I haven't worked with before, The answer is James Taylor, not jazz musician. But I think James Taylor is one of my favorite musicians. I mean, I love listening to Stevie Wonder, but I don't think I ever will, that's not who I want to play with. Who I want to play with is James Taylor. So hopefully one day I will have the opportunity.
Okay, I'm into that. And that means that's the last word coming from the Jeremy Monteiro. Terima kasih banyak. That's you already joining with the WartaJazz Talk edition number 10 tonight. And of course, for those who are watching and give some comments and ask some questions to our social media in YouTube, in Facebook, Instagram, and so Twitter. Thank you very much. And of course, you can still enjoy this show by playing it on demand on those certain channels. For me, Agustian Basuni, who is live from the WartaJazz House Gallery in Cimanggis, Depok, and also my guest Jeremy Monteiro from Singapore. We thanking you all very much. Terima kasih banyak sudah bergabung. Mohon maaf apabila ada kata-kata yang kurang berkenan. Sampai bertemu kembali di acara WartaJazz berikutnya dan selamat malam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye.
Bye.